this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite movie of all time.
Definitely.
Bro. As you can tell by the shirt.
Yeah.
What does this movie mean to you? Because we just rewatched it the other day.
I mean, it impacted. I mean, it's like heavily referenced in a lot of gangster movies or a lot of shows, or,
And
you know,
hip hop music.
That too, and the famous "Say Hello to My Little Friend" and all that. You know, so iconic scene. What was that movie? Was it? It was either that 50 Cent movie or it was that not Get Rich or Die Trying, Paid in Full. Yes. It was like they was in a movie theater
and watching Scarface.
Yeah,
and then also in New Jack City, Nino Brown was watching Scarface multiple times.
That man watched he was watching the finals, bro.
Yeah, for real. So one thing that I've always said about Scarface, right? I've always said Godfather is the most. It's from a filmmaking standpoint, it's the greatest crime film of all time. But from a cultural and an iconic standpoint, I've always said that Tony Montana has Michael Corleone and Godfather beat in terms of cultural impact. Because like you said, rappers still talk about it to this day. It's just a more influential film, I feel like.
Yeah.
But from a filmmaking aspect, that's where Godfather has it.
Yeah, and for me, like, I mean, we can just run into the basics of the film. It starts off with this Cuban immigrant during the Fidel Castro days. I don't really know that much about it, but he basically gets to the U.S. and he's in this refugee camp. And then in order to get a green card, they have to assassinate this one guy who was, I guess, a politician or something like that. And basically, like, and then he basically gets put on by this guy named, what was his name, Oscar? Or what was his name?
You're talking about
Omar, yeah. He got put on by the guy named Omar, and then, you know, he basically gets in the game, and he works his way up. He finally meets the big plug, Sosa, shout out to Sosa. And then...
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace to the actor, yeah. So, and then he basically has his own drug empire, and he has fronts and all this, and he deals with these legal issues. And then obviously everybody knows the ending, the iconic ending, so...
I would say that's I didn't mean to cut you off, but I would say that the ending of Scarface is the most iconic ending in film history. Yeah. Definitely in the top 5. He went out with a bang. He was brave. He took out damn near an entire hit squad. And if he had his boys with him, he probably would have made it out.
Yeah.
But I guess that was kind of the point of the ending. They wanted him to go out with a bang and an all-time high.
Yeah. And it was given just in, like I was saying, it's still like one of the most well-written stories, especially for like, it was like, what, 3 hours or 2 hours and a half? So...
And the time period that it came out, too. Because remember, it came out, of course, in the 80s.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was a lot of Cuban immigrants, you know, coming into Miami.
Yeah.
So the story was perfect for its time. Because when it came out, the events that happened in the film were actually happening in real life.
Yeah.
I've always thought that Tony Montana is historical fiction. Or that Scarface is historical fiction. Because it has a lot of relevant things going on in that movie that really did happen in the 80s.
Right. And it was just an overall cool experience. And for that time period to have a movie that long, and when I watched the movie, it really doesn't feel like it was 2 hours or 3 hours.
No, it's pretty, I would say it's a good pacing overall because there are a lot of iconic scenes for one. And Al Pacino's performance is... like out of this world.
Yeah.
You cannot remake Scarface. I know they talked about doing a reboot and bringing back Tony Montana, having him as a Mexican immigrant coming to Los Angeles in, you know, modern times. Don't do that. Please don't do that, y'all. You can't redo Tony Montana.
You definitely cannot recreate that last scene.
No.
The only thing that I've ever seen remake Scarface and did it good was GTA Vice City.
And the video game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and like they had Scarface video game.
You could kind of look at the video game as like a sequel because
it was like if
he kills the skull and he ended up killing Sosa at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I guess that was kind of the what if story, which I appreciated that. Sometimes I would like to see a prequel of Scarface. We get to see a young Tony Montana in Cuba, but I still feel that they should leave that alone as well because Al Pacino did it so perfect.
Yeah. And it was really crazy because, like, when you watch the movie, he, like, knew his stuff. That's why he got to the top how he did. Now, yes, it's, you know, the drug gang, whatever, and you don't condone it, nothing like that. But the way how he, like, had his whole mentality, like, he knew what to do. He knew he could talk his way out of any situation. When he was out there, when the police had him, he knew his way out of that. The chainsaw scene, you know, he was in the car with his boys, and it was like, he's like 15 minutes. I ain't come out here. Y'all come in and do what y'all gotta do. And he predicted it, and he knew he was getting into something.
Yeah.
He knew
it wasn't his first merry-go-round. He knew what to expect.
So that's why we want a backstory.
Yeah. And, you know, another thing about Tony Montana, bro, that separates him from a lot of gangsters that we've seen in movies, you have to give him credit for sticking to his morals and not killing those innocent children. Like that, I do think that the only thing that kind of downplays that is him killing his best friend, really his brother Manny. But outside of that, you do have to give him some props and some respect for not killing those children.
Right, and it shows it's the difference between being a bad guy and being evil. Being evil,
or an anti-hero, yeah.
Being evil, you know, that would have been not having morals, dropping children, and something like that. But being bad is just, you know, selling drugs. And he even said in the movie, "I never screwed over anybody who didn't deserve it."
Exactly.
And it's like, and it's true. You watch the whole movie, he didn't. All these people who he dropped, it was because they did something to him.
Like Frank.
Yeah,
Frank had set him up
at
in the car
at the club when he got shot
at the Babylon Club. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, and he pulled up on him, and he was like, "Call this number." That was smart. So it shows he knows what he's doing. So that is why I would like to see a prequel to it.
Yeah.
But back to what I was saying about Vice City, it was cool because they had all the clothing. Tommy Vercetti was really close to Tony Montana. Like, not obviously he wasn't a Cuban guy. He was an Italian guy from up north, but
the bravery aspect was very reminiscent.
Yeah.
And even when they had it was kind of reminiscent of the Scarface mansion.
Exactly, like the Diaz mansion.
Yes, exactly.
And, you know, just like the Scarface finale, and at the end of the game, it was also like the Scarface finale. You know, he had a standoff, and this time he won. So this is, and we plan on putting this in the thumbnail, but if you want to show them that right there.
Yes. So this past weekend, I purchased a poster from one of the malls in Charlotte. It changes colors, if you will. Like right here, if you can look close, you see Tony Montana. That's when he was in the shootout finale, and you got a view of Miami in the back that says Scarface, Al Pacino, and then when you switch it some more, it's him smoking a cigar. That's that iconic cover of him just smoking a cigar, kind of smiling. And then if you move it around a little bit more, I don't know if you guys can really see it.
The down angle like this.
Yeah.
I think they might be able to see it. I don't know, but there's one where he's like on a beach or something like that.
Well, I talked about that one, but this is where he had the mug shot with the shades on and had the cigar in his mouth.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think
we're big fans of Scarface.
Yeah, very big. I think it's called acrylic. I think it's like acrylic or something like that. The name of that poster. So. I don't know. But that also reminds me. You mentioned a poster. This is so good. So I'm 19, but I feel kind of old saying this. In the 2000s, we would go over people's houses a lot, and everybody had a Scarface poster.
Oh, bro, I'm so glad you said that. Everybody had. There was a guy that was friends. I guess like a friend of the family, if you will. And when we went over his house, it was the scene where Tony was in the bathtub talking to Manny and his wife Hancock, and the guy had a picture of Tony in the bathtub in his bathroom.
Yeah.
He also had a picture of Tony, or two pictures of Tony in his living room.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we couldn't go over nobody's house and there not be a scar. Even, I think I was 8 years old and someone had brought me the film poster of Scarface.
The black and white thing.
Yes, the DVD theatrical release poster. Someone had brought that for me when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I probably would still have it if our little brother hadn't ripped it off. That's another story for another day. But that just goes to show how big of fans we are. And then, you know, of course, I got the shirt on. Al Pacino really shook up the culture with Scarface. Because he already had Godfather Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Scarface took him on even more of a iconic level than he already was.
Yeah.
Like, it's very relevant to this day.
Definitely. And we got to talk about The Godfather, but we'll probably do that in another video because I haven't seen all of them. I started watching the first one, but that movie was long and I was already tired when I was watching it.
We got Godfather content coming on the way.
Don't worry. I will binge watch these movies and watch all the clips and the lore and all that, so I know everything that's going on. But I'll be in tune for that.
And we might even do a character battle between Michael Corleone and Tony Montana. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Because I hear Michael was like that guy in that movie anyway.
Smart, very. but Tony is a boss. The only thing about Scarface, something that I didn't realize till I got older, the scene where Tony went to visit Sosa for I believe the second time, and they had that big meeting in his living room where they was watching the journalists on TV kind of expose all of them. And if you look closely, you go back and watch, you look closely, when Tony had shook all of their hands, when he turned around, all of them kind of rolled their eyes at him or gave him like an evil look. I don't know if it was because they felt that he was beneath them, they were jealous, or they just didn't trust him. But in that moment, and there were a lot of people in the YouTube comment sections, they believe, and I believe, that it got to the point where we realized, damn, Tony is damn near like he's a high-ranked hitman more than he is a boss, because it's like he's in the room with the real bosses, the ones that have the political influence.
Yeah, and the ones who really have the country in it.
And they're corrupt.
Exactly.
The guys who will kill innocent children and all the other evil things you could think of. You know, I think Tony was probably the most moral. I think he had the most morals in that room out of everybody.
And one more thing about Al Pacino. So there was this movie. I know it was Adam Sandler. I think the movie was called Jack and Jill. It was like 2010 when the movie came out. The Dunkachino scene. You seen that before?
I believe I have.
Dunkin', bro.
Oh yes.
We will link that in the thing. That is such a. It's so funny, and he referenced all his movies like Godfather, Scarface, and everything else. Like, that is because it makes me appreciate actors more when they're being human and showing their, and it was just cool. Some people didn't like it, but I actually liked it. So. But yeah, overall, I would put Scarface as like the best gangster movie of all time. As far as I've watched as of right now, because I still gotta watch Bronx Tale, Goodfellas, all the Godfathers, and other things. Boardwalk Empire is cool. That's back to the Capone days, and I think that's based on your story about Capone days.
Well, of course, that's a show, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
And that show with Cillian Murphy on Netflix, Peaky Blinders.
Yes.
I also gotta watch.
Check that out.
I added that in my list, man, but I want to finish Narcos, man.
Narcos is nice.
Man, it's over Snowfall, but that's another topic. You're
not gonna bait me into that.
He has Snowfall over, man, but Narcos is that show, bro.
But for me personally, as I said before, Scarface is my favorite, one of my favorite films, if not my number one favorite film of all time. I would put it in the top 10 films of all time, top 15 for sure. Easily amongst the top 5 for the most iconic and the most culturally impactful.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot talk about gangster movies and not talk about Tony Montana.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that simple. I've watched that movie just as much, if not more, than I watched any other movie in film history. And I can recite pretty much the entire movie. I know every scene that's about to come up after the one that I'm currently watching. So, I mean, that movie is forever near and dear to my heart.
Dang, I know you pressed the time right now, but aside from the shooting scene, what would be your favorite scene in that movie?
When you said the shooting, are you talking about aside from the ending? Aside from the ending, my favorite scene would probably be, I don't know. The say goodnight to the bad guy scene he was speaking a lot of truths. Even with him being, how they say a drunk person always speaks the truth.
Oh yeah, I'm about to miss that.
He was speaking a lot of truth. That was one of my favorite scenes. I guess because of how action-packed it was, I like the scene at the Babylon Club. That was when he had got shot.
Yeah.
And I also like the exchange or the first conversation between him and Sosa, because he stood up to him, he let him know hey, you the boss, but just know, I got respect for myself. I'm not scared of nobody. Yeah, that's pretty much what he said without saying it.
Yeah, he stood 10 toes. I really like that. Me, I Want Was Coming in the World, Chico. I really like that because
the world is yours, Chico, and everything in it.
Yeah, and
truer words have never been spoken.
And especially that movie, he knew that the world was coming to him, so he took the world for what it was. But at the end, see what happened. So, yeah.
Yeah, but shout out to Al Pacino. Shout out to everybody that was a part of Scarface. It's a true masterpiece.
Definitely.
You can make a very strong argument that it is the greatest gangster film / crime film of all time. It is, I think it's easily, no disrespect to the other gangster films, but it's easily the most iconic and the most impactful gangster / crime film of all time.
Definitely.
And I mean, I don't see no way around it.
Nah.
But we appreciate y'all for watching. More content is on the way soon. Y'all comment down below what y'all think about Scarface. If you're old enough to remember when this came out, let us know what your earliest memories of it is and where you rank it all time amongst the greatest films and the greatest gangster films. As always, more content will be on the way soon. Peace and love to everybody.